A lot of times I say, for people who don't understand why they see esports on television like ESPN, I'll mention they have hot dog eating contests on ESPN, right? Just want to remind you guys of that. Damon, anything you can add to that?
I mean, what I would say to most people is welcome to 2018. For a lot of people that don't understand the community, gaming has been around for a significant period of time. Competitive gaming originally started in the 1970s, and really, if you think about the audience and the business of gaming, it's grown to such a large degree, but competitive gaming has been an essential part of the entire thing. When you look at the past trends within the past 15 years of all the major titles, really competition has driven viewership. And then when you look at the numbers, I think it literally speaks for itself. There is a massive audience. And what you're also looking at is generations of gamers, meaning that you're not just talking about the 13 to 15-year-old that's basically, he loves playing that video game and that's what he wants to watch and that's what he wants to do. He's also watching with his mom and his dad, who are also gamers too as well. So I really think that, being on the pulse of what's happening in culture right now is also includes a conversation of gaming in general.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with both of those examples. I like to use golf as one where people will tune in to golf, watch for 5 hours, where a guy hits a ball, walks 300 yards in the quiet, complete silence, and then hits the ball again, and then you do it over and over again. Whereas in the esports world, you're watching the top players in the entire world in a highly competitive environment where it's extremely noisy, extremely fun to watch. There's a lot going on the screens. And there's just nonstop entertainment. So I think this is the future of the business, which is why people are probably here today in the entertainment world looking for where the eyeballs are going, and esports is where the eyeballs are going.
Right. So one of our lead investors, older gentleman, early 90s, and his analogy was when he bought a professional baseball team, the most popular sports in the U.S. were boxing and horse racing. So you figure in his generation, he saw boxing and horse racing lose track to the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA. But he had the vision to buy a Major League team, and he has the vision to be invested in this also.
That's a great point. Some of our investors, one of ours is Bob Kraft, and he's mentioned the same thing. They thought he was crazy by the Patriots, and he was the first investor, right, in the Boston Uprising, one of our eSport teams. And to your point, he recognized the power of sport and the power of fans' passion. So whether the industry gets it, to me, there's a saying we say internally that, most of these things are games, but when you have fans and the level of skill we have, it becomes a sport when you wrap a league around it. And that's the powerful thing that we have. Basketball's a game, NBA is a sport in many ways.
And right, something about that, the reason that I wanted to play basketball was, I was like a poor kid from Indiana on a farm, and I saw headlines that this guy was making $1 million playing basketball. I was like, that's for me right there. I'm gonna go out here and get this money. And so many of these kids now, when they look up and they see that this is my livelihood, this is the way I live, you're going to see more and more jobs in esports. So you're going to have coaches, analysts, support staff. You're going to have more kids grow up and make it this is going to be my job forever, and they can play now in their 30s because they have a lifestyle they can sustain.
Damon, I want to go back to you. As far as representation goes, do you find any similarities between representing esports players and just anyone else that you've stepped out and represented?
Well, I think absolutely. I think when you think about the opportunities that people have within this industry right now, it's phenomenal. I mean, if you really take a step back, the development that's happened in the past 3 to 5 years, the viewership that's kind of grown, and the people are building careers. Schools are supporting this industry with scholarships. And I think when you look at that, it really paints the path of this is not just a flash in the pan. This is an industry that's currently developing, and it stems from an industry that's been around for a really, really long time. So it's exciting to see that a lot of our clients are really building careers, building a path to success. And even for them, though, I think this thing that's so interesting about esports is that even as you get involved and you become a professional, you have a career after being a professional, being a content creator. And I think that's been something a lot of people are wrapping their brains around, that a lot of the leading gaming content creators that you hear about on YouTube, that you hear about on Twitch, I'd say 50 to 60% of them are former pros themselves. And I think that's the exciting part too, as well, is that when you think of traditional sports, it's like being a commentator, being an analyst is really meant for a select few after they finish their pro careers. When you look at this industry, it's a whole career in itself.